From our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Peter Murphy begins now.
Good evening. Despite easing conditions, Tasmanian and interstate crews continue to battle more than a dozen fires in the state's west. 4 watch and act alerts remain in place, with more than 100,000 hectares succumbing so far. Reporter Lily Thompson is in Zeehan tonight. Lily, you've just returned from the fire ground. What are the crews currently up against out there?
Well, they're up against some pretty tough conditions out there, Murph. It's remote, there's thick vegetation, there's also some pretty steep terrain. But luckily it's been about 10 degrees cooler here today compared to earlier this week, and crews are really using that to their full advantage. It's now a race to get those last major fronts under control before conditions worsen again. Whole plains blackened with ash, firefighters working around the clock. Remnants of a local lookout, now hard to recognise. It's a race against time to do the seemingly impossible and quell a fire which has already burnt through an area of bushland the size of Greater Hobart. Crews risking it all to save our communities. This front is just 36 kilometres from the Zeehan township, where residents have been able to return home, counting their blessings while continuing to watch their backs.
Well, I was just pleased that we were allowed to return and have a home to return to. We've still got to live with the threat of a major bushfire, another inferno knocking on our front door.
Emotions running high at a community meeting this afternoon. An update from authorities on what's ahead and what's been done to halt the fire that was barrelling towards them.
The fire was travelling at about 3 kilometres an hour, but there was spot fires starting 3.5 kilometres in front of that and was heading towards your township. That's why the emergency warning went out.
Once again, cooler temperatures overnight, allowing several alerts in the area to be downgraded. There is still currently a watch and act alert in place for parts including Corinna, Sandy Cape and Renison Bell. This area, about 20 kilometres east of Corinna, has been completely burned by the Yellow Band fire. It's one of the 3 major blazes still alight in the area. While the recent rain has been a welcomed relief, crews say this fight is all but over. But with a fire ground more than 1,000 kilometres in circumference and more warm weather due later this week, authorities admit to get this job done, they're going to need a little help from above.
We really need some significant rain with 1,100 kilometres to get around, and a lot of this terrain is really hard to get to. It's going to take a considerable time.
I've been speaking to a lot of residents over the last couple of days who have naturally found this situation quite confronting. There's a lot of gratitude for our first responders who are out there doing amazing work on the ground. But the main message from authorities is for those in affected areas and surrounds to keep monitoring that Tas Alert app and have a go bag ready, because Murph, you never know when you might have to leave with little warning.
Yes, be prepared, Lily. Good idea, but also always hoping for the best. Thanks for your report tonight. 1,100 Tasmanian farmers are behind a petition calling for the right to be able to process meat products on their own farms. They argue it means not having to rely on an abattoir, but there are some concerns about how to ensure that food safety and animal welfare standards are maintained.
Calls for a shake-up to the way that meat travels from paddock to plate.
The current system is designed for a fixed building in a fixed place. It's easy for the bureaucrats, but it's not good for the animals that we want to kill, and it's certainly not good for the farmers.
The opposition backing a petition to make it easier for farmers to process and sell their own meat products on site, saving livestock from stress caused during transportation to an abattoir.
For animals to be transported for hundreds of kilometres for no good reason, because of the red tape that's in our existing system.
The idea raising eyebrows about how to ensure safe practices and ethical processing takes place.
And we need to develop skills around slaughter and processing and meat inspection so that we can produce products that are safe for Tasmanians.
But the government maintains current regulations keep the process balanced.
The paddock to plate story and economic opportunities for our farmers, while also ensuring that animal welfare and other important considerations are taken into account.
The petition, now with 1,100 signatures, is set to be tabled when Parliament returns next month. Labor hoping to get the legislation passed as soon as possible. But for now, these producers remain fenced in.
The need is great. The changes that we're asking for aren't huge. They make sense. But I guess we're asking for something that hasn't been done before.
Ruby Cairns, 7 Tasmania News.
All the bells and whistles have been on full display as a Northwest icon marks a special milestone. The Don River Railway pulling off the ultimate 3-day party to celebrate 5 decades on the tracks.
All aboard the 50th birthday train.
I've been on 2 different trains. It was pretty bumpy on both times.
I loved it.
It was really great.
Close to 4,000 passengers hitching a ride this weekend.
So many train enthusiasts. We've had people from all around Australia pop in. Some that sort of chase trains almost for a living.
Taking a trip down memory lane. From steam engines to diesel locomotives, the Don River still has it all, putting the very best of the state's railway history on full display.
It really just means the world to us to put on something for the public.
The 3-day celebration, a chance to share the locomotive love around.
You love trains, but there's also the fact that you meet so many wonderful people.
The birthday bash also serving up a slice of royalty, a carriage once belonging to the Prince of Wales, restored to keep its former glory alive.
Everybody's got memories, and it's great to be able to talk about them.
Passengers are giving the team enough steam to keep the trains on track for another 50 years.
Bringing back the fun of a train ride, it just goes to show there is that interest.
Victoria Eastoe, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmanian developers are being promised less red tape to speed up the delivery of new homes. The state government says approvals for new subdivisions will be streamlined when it repeals the Local Government Building Act,
which is not so affectionately known in the industry as log bump. Log bump's days are numbered and it's time for it to go so that we can get on and deliver more subdivisions and more homes for everyday Tasmanians.
The new Tasmanian planning scheme will take over responsibility for subdivisions. A decision is expected tomorrow in the trial of a jumping castle operator at the centre of the Hillcrest tragedy. The magistrate has been deliberating since the 2-week hearing concluded in November last year. Zorb owner Rosemary Gamble pleaded not guilty to a health and safety charge. She's accused of failing to take all reasonable precautions the day the jumping castle was ripped from the ground by a mini tornado, killing the 6 children. Ms Gamble's defence claims the wind was unprecedented and no number of tethers could have kept the jumping castle secured. The verdict will be delivered in Devonport. An independent MP is calling for the brakes to be put on plans to establish a commercial sardine fishery in Bass Strait. Craig Garland wants the process to start small and focus on human consumption before scaling up.
The whole ecosystem that is reliant on these fish, regardless of what we want to do with them, and so a touchy-feely, slow approach. Not that traditional fish down, ruin it.
His concerns raised as part of a community forum in Burnie discussing the future of fisheries in the Strait and the health of ecosystems in Tasmanian waters. Tasmanians could be forced to dig into their pockets to fund the new Macquarie Point Stadium, according to the Greens. They claim a KPMG report released this week points to a need for more cash to get it off the ground and to avoid impacts to essential services like hospitals.
No one believes Premier Rockcliffe when he says that this can be built for $775 million, and this new report demonstrates that indeed to raise the money needed to pay for the stadium, it will involve new taxes.
They've taken out of context a report for a stadium that they don't even support. The Greens are anti-everything.
The government continues to maintain the project will be kept to budget. North Hobart or Italy? You certainly couldn't tell the difference today. Festa Italia, transforming main streets into a sea of all things red, white and green, proving the perfect place for thousands of revellers to eat, drink and dance their way through some of the best that the culture has to offer. Menus filled with paninis to pizza, proving to be a carb lover's heaven.
I reckon we've prepared about 500 pizza bases and times by 4 per pizza, so there's a lot of pizza we've made today. Been absolutely a busy afternoon.
A bit of afternoon rain, certainly not enough to deter these festival goers from getting pretty well involved. Hobart's Max Giuliani has claimed his second gold at the Victorian Long Course Championships, winning his 200-metre freestyle final in 1 minute 48 seconds, a full second ahead of the next swimmer. A Tasmanian Quinella in the 5,000 metres at Adelaide's Athletics Invitational. James Hansen crossing first, just ahead of fellow Launcestonian and Burnie 10 winner Sam Clifford, after a thrilling sprint finish that saw the Tassie duo seize control on the final lap.
I'm always the guy that gets run over the top of, so I was just like, save it as long as possible, see how you go, and it felt phenomenal to actually get through the line today and be the winner. It's been a long time since I've won something.
Hobart's Jacob Despard took third in the 200 and second in the 100 metre final. Cruz Hewitt is a step closer to making the final cut of the Burnie International, winning his first qualifying match this afternoon. Son of Australian great Leighton Hewitt, the 16-year-old is showing plenty of signs he's following in his dad's footsteps, even having a very familiar on-court celebration.
Up-and-coming players from obviously the Australian tennis circuit. You've seen Cruz Hewitt, obviously son of Leighton is here, which is fantastic.
Cruz heads into another round of qualifiers tomorrow. The main draw starts on Tuesday.
Good evening. Hobart reached 17 today, 21 the state's high in Launceston, Devonport 20 and 19 at Burnie. It was 20 at Low Head, 18 for the Bass Strait Islands, Smithton, St Helens, Friendly Beaches and Bushy Park. 16 the top at Marai Island and Strawn, Grove 15 and 10 degrees at Lyweenie. We experienced mostly cloudy conditions about the west and south today, with scattered cloud developing about the north and the northeast. Low cloud pushed over Tasmania and coastal parts of Victoria and southern New South Wales. Tomorrow, the high pressure system moves just to the northwest of Tasmania. West to southwesterly winds 10 to 20 knots, winds about the west and south increasing upward of 30 knots in the late afternoon, while southwesterly swells build to 2.5 metres. A strong wind warning has been issued for coastal waters between Tasman Island to Sandy Cape. It will be a partly cloudy Monday in the south tomorrow. Hobart and Dover both 21 and 22 at Ooze. Fine and sunny in Launceston 22, Devonport and Scottsdale expecting sunny skies with 20 there. The Burnie International kicks off tomorrow and they can expect a sunny 21 degrees on the court, 19 and possible showers in Strawn, becoming cloudy in Stanley, 20 the maximum. A perfect day towards the east, 21 for St Helens and Ross, Swansea 20 degrees. Showers about western, central and southern districts on Tuesday, extending to the west, far south and the northeast. Fine apart from showers about the west and far south on Tuesday. And on Thursday, light showers continue about the west and far south, contracting to the southwest in the afternoon. To mainland conditions now for your Monday. 33 for both Perth and Cairns tomorrow. Warmer still in Alice Springs with 37. Fine in Adelaide and Canberra, and a partly cloudy day in Melbourne with 21 degrees. And here are our current conditions. Now, Murph, I thought you were winding down for retirement, but look at you go, 7 days a week. Just don't overdo it, mate.
Kaya, I can't afford to retire. I've got a very expensive life, I meant.